a lot of the amounts that we spend on anything that's communal really is based on norms that we are defining for ourselves. If you can get your daughter married for, let's say, 50 grand soup to nuts, and you're spending 150 because you feel there's a social norm, you can't blame that on the weddings. You can't blame that on society. For someone to go in debt for a party, I know that people do it, and I understand the tainas. But if you have it out, to be able to realign your values and sit your kids down and say, you want us to support you and you want us to make a wedding. There's $100,000 of this money that we're putting into this wedding. If you want to make the wedding in X, Y, and Z place, switch it to the takana place. And I know I'm putting myself in danger as a band right now as I'm saying this, but it's still true. And you can't bring yourself to do that because of social pressure. There's introspection there.
Welcome, Ari.
Thank you, Moshe.
Yes, pleasure, to the Middle Class Money podcast.
I'm honored to be a representative of the middle class of Klal Yisrael.
But everyone's special. Yeah, right?
I like to think so.
Middle class is first class.
That's it.
But first, really, just tell us a little bit about yourself and to everyone else. I know Ari for a while already, but let the world know. So why don't you start, and we'll take it from there.
Okay, my name is Ari Boiangiu. I live in Flatbush. I am blessed with a wonderful wife and 7 wonderful kids. My being, so to speak, or my primary way I like to look at my existence is as a Rebbe. I've been a Rebbe for over 20 years. I'm currently a Rebbe in Ruach HaTorah in Brooklyn. Before that, I was here a Rebbe in 5 towns at Rambam for many, many years. And that is my, so to speak, morning occupation. At night, I have probably maybe a better known occupation, and that is a band, Blue Melody. I'm the owner and operator of. I've been playing music for many, many years, but the band was founded in about 2014, and I basically took over operations, entirely at about 2018. And that is my source of income. My wife works as well. She's a teacher. She's been in Magen David for many, many years. And we're blessed to be doing what we're doing. That's who we are.
So right away, when I hear that, I want to ask a few questions. So as a financial planner, I meet with all types of people, all types of businesses.
Sure.
And the middle class has all types, salaried. But you own a business. I would love to hear how you scaled the business, because I know you said you took over operations. So that means it was a business that was already in existence and you just revamped?
So I founded it with a former partner, Eli Lax, a beautiful guy, and we worked at it together for many, many years. And he jumped actually into the world of finance, which left me kind of open. I was more focused basically, I guess you could say, on the music and the clients and the services and things like that. Music is, we can call it a business, we can call it basically a service, service fund. So it kind of, I guess financial planning is, somewhere in the middle. But I took over more of the operations and obviously a lot more of the financial authority.
So the reason why I ask is because a lot of middle class, start from scratch. And I'm curious, how was that for you, taking a business and scaling it? Because I know Blue Melody today, I mean, I know a lot about it.
Yeah.
And it's got a great sound and a great name, to be honest. Blue. How do they spell it? B-L?
Baruch Hashem. Yeah, it's regular blue. B-L-U-E.
Oh, it's regular. It's not the French one.
Nothing fancy.
So if there are people that are watching this podcast and they want to build a business, what would you say is needed, and what did you do, if you could say it in short form, what did you do to help build it?
That's a great question. I generally approached it with a, so to speak, a mid-level business model. My father, God bless him, was my guide for a lot of this. And one of the first lessons that he taught me was really that in many ways, every business has to be looked at the same. You have to put in the labor, you have to have the vision, you have to have the goal, and you have to build around how you're going to get to that goal. You want to constantly push boundaries. You can't move too fast. I really relied on my relationships, because at that point I had been playing music for a long time. And, certainly for any business within the Jewish community, you're really going to base a lot of it on your relationships. I don't know that it's so much the idea of building a product from scratch. The music can be there, and we're always developing the music, but it's more about developing relationships and turning those relationships into trust. And that's really been the cornerstone of what a successful business is for me. And again, you could do that if you sell pickles, if you sell bottles of water, if you do financial planning, you do that, when you're building yeshivas as well. I think it's the same thing across the board.
The relationships, and so this is where it gets to the meat and the potatoes. So you're building a business, and it isn't where it is today. How did you, I wouldn't know, survive or get through it financially in that building stage? And you don't have to be as open as,
That's a great question.
Whatever you're comfortable,
That's a great question. Honestly, level one is obviously siyata d'shmaya, and nothing starts without that. Level two is just absolute drive and determination. I'm going to make this thing work. Another important lesson I can attribute to my father is you cannot rely or lean on anything in a business or any enterprise outside of yourself. Obviously, you're going to build the staff, and you're going to draw from their strengths. You're going to build them up, and you're going to give them gratitude, and you're going to reward them, and and meet their needs. But you cannot build a business on anybody else. Ultimately, you have to understand that this business is going to rely on me, myself, and I. And my vision, my will, is going to be the key to its success. And that's how you weather it. The ups and downs. I'm certainly not exempt from it. I think everybody, any job, any business has those same ups and downs. The determination of this is going to happen because I want it to, because that's my vision, that's my dream. That's what's going to make it happen, and you'll figure out how to do it. If you're on the slower seasons, if it's you maybe doing stuff that you would have hired out, if you have to furlough some employees, and you're going to do it. And then when things get better, you bring them back, and you weather the seasons because this has to happen.
Yeah. So what about numbers-wise? So you're building the business and hustling and making it happen. You have, let's say, how many kids do you have?
7 kids, Baruch Hashem.
Now you have 7 kids, Bli Ayin Hara.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, I guess when you started, you had 2014.
When we started, I probably had 5, let's say. 5 kids.
Yeah. Starting
so 2 more
business.
kids, 2 more kids, 2 more grandkids. A beautiful married couple, Baruch Hashem.
Mazel tov.
So yeah.
You see, there's hope.
Not only that, the kids are the source of bracha. It says every time another kid comes to the world, every time Hashem blessed with another kid, when we had to make every simcha we have to make, you see Hashem rains down the shefa. He really does. We got to work, but Hashem brings the shefa when we need it. That's what I've always found.
It's from a financial planning perspective, unfortunately, sometimes we look at kids as like expenses, but the truth is the heart expands, 100%. And you have. But again, so 2014, you have a few children.
Right.
You're starting or building a business. How did you get by financially?
So
numbers.
So how do I maybe this is kind of what you're asking, Moshe, which is how do I look at numbers? Like how does an Orthodox Jew look at numbers? I think if he looks at numbers too much, I think it can be kind of frightening. I don't know if this is a good time for it or not, but I want to share an anecdote. My wife and I, a few years ago, met with the Rav Elia Rodney Shlita. So my son learns by him, learned by him for a few years, and is very close to him. So we were zeicha to this meeting. And one of the first things he asked me when he sat down is, how's Parnassah? I said, Parnassah's, it's good. What, right? Yeah, exactly. No Jew ever says it's going amazing. It's good, it's going. Yeah, it's great, right? And he said to me, you have Parnassah B'revach? And I said, Parnassah B'revach. I said, well, what does that mean? He said, are you paying your bills on a monthly basis? I said, yes. He said, you just made a wedding? He said, did you borrow? I said, no. He said, you have Parnassah B'revach. So that was profound to me. Meaning we have sometimes the wrong attitude to approach things, right? What do I need? Is it about numbers? Do I need to make X? Do I need to make Y? My understanding was if we can make our bills and we're paying our bills and we're not putting ourselves, deeper in debt, and we're able to make simchas without borrowing, that's Parnassah B'revach. I don't even know if that's called middle class. I don't know what that's called.
I mean, it's expensive,
but that's called success.
That's right. Not being millionaires.
Right.
That's always been like your approach.
Right. So that's been it. If we can make it there, then we've got more. If we've got what we need to live, and we're not living in a state of worry then financially we're successful and we're blessed from the Ribono Shel Olam. Numbers, at the same time, I'd be lying if I didn't have a larger looming number in my head. I do think that to be a member of a larger community in Klal Yisrael, to send my kids to yeshiva, to make simchas, to support future kids, future shidduchim when you need support, there probably is a number somewhere between 350 and 4.
Right.
That a Jewish family needs, to make it and produce enough to secure their future until retirement. I think that number is probably an accurate number. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, that's the number I threw out on the other.
Oh, was it really?
Yeah, and people thought I was cuckoo.
Well, people don't want to face it, maybe. Maybe they're deluding themselves.
I just, I said what I saw, but that's great to hear it from the ground.
I think also every community is going to be different, right? Yeshiva costs more in certain places,
and family size,
right. House size. What kind of simchas do I have to make, so to speak? Which do I have to send my child to Eretz Yisrael, to yeshiva? Do I have to send my daughters to seminary? All of that is going to play into what the makeup is.
So, like we spoke about before, so you're building the business and you have the middle class approach, let's call it. Right. But was there family help throughout all of this? And go back to the beginning and maybe even talk about now, whatever you're comfortable with. Because I know I did make a statement that surprised a lot of people, that to survive B'revach, as we said, as a middle class person, you need some kind of family help, which I'll just say quickly, someone called me up and said, I bought my house, I'm middle class without family help. Yeah. I said, well, how did you buy your house? So he goes through the numbers and then he says he got an interest-free loan from a family member. I said,
that's help.
That's family help. It's a loan,
help, right.
But you're not getting an interest-free loan from, from Chase Bank or anything. So anyway, what would you say throughout this whole journey, let's call it?
I have gotten help from my parents, and I'm grateful for it. I'm not ashamed to say it. I'll even say today there's still dividends from a business that's largely run by my father and my brother, on a mostly somewhat a minor level, and occasionally that I'm still getting, and I'm super grateful. I think that this is more a battle of ego than anything else out. I think that certainly every head of house, every adult male, that we're taught to be, wants to feel like we can provide for our family, so to speak, on our own. And again, to put a little bit of hashkaf into this also, nothing's us, nothing's on our own. It's all from the Eibishter's help anyway, But we want to feel like we have the ability and the wherewithal, and we're providing for our kids and our wives, and we don't need help. But if Hashem sends us help from avenues, that are open to us, to not take it just because on principle, it seems foolish to me. I mean, if you found $1 million on the street, right? So you didn't earn that $1 million. So by the same principle, you say, well, I'm not earning the money, so I'm not going to take the money, I'm going to leave it there. So if Hashem sends a gift through a parent or through a family member or through an uncle or through a trust fund, take it. I think obviously it would be irresponsible to just rely on the trust funds. And I think that I don't think anybody should be told, well, you have to take family money and that's the only way you're going to survive. You'll survive. You put in your effort. But be grateful as the gift for the gifts. Right. What's to be ashamed of?
It's not a contradiction.
No, we live in an absurdly expensive community and life, and maybe it's obviously that's the point of all the other podcasts to talk about. Well, why is it this? So we can break down each issue. Why is a wedding expensive? Why is yeshiva expensive? Why is a house expensive? Why is seminary? Why are cars expensive? Why we can discuss all of that. But the Metzias is, if you're living in this community and you need X to survive, and you're getting gifts to help cover that X, take the gifts, say thank you, and be happy. That's what I think. Am I missing a point? I don't think so.
Well, I agree with you.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a contradiction to be the breadwinner and the supporter of a family and receive family help if you need it. You shouldn't, like you said, take advantage of it and, rely on it like as if it's you should build your own business, do your own thing, but also take it.
I think so. I mean, obviously, if somebody talks about, expensive necessities and puts pressure on other people in the community, talking about, well, you need to make this type of simcha, you need to drive this car, your kids need to wear this clothing. And my daughter's busy with, she comes home every day and her friends are telling her she needs aloe this and Lululemon that. So it's easy to put that pressure on everybody else around you, if you're getting money from mommy and daddy. So you have to, be conscious of the community dynamic. If you have the money and you can afford this stuff, great. But we always have to be very conscious not to, I think, raise the public bar, the public standard of how we spend and what's really a necessity in the community and what's just a narishkeit. That if you can afford it, great, that's your business. But don't tell me that I need it. Don't tell my kids that they need it.
You have to,
This week's episode is sponsored by Chai Lifeline. You might ask, what does Chai Lifeline have to do with the Money Podcast? I'll tell you. As a certified financial planner, I love it when clients save on taxes. And there's a very unique strategy that Chai Lifeline implements called a bargain sale. And just to keep it simple, let's say someone has property or a house that's worth $1 million and they want to get a tax deduction on their income. They can sell that property to Chai Lifeline for lower than its fair market value and get a tax deduction on the difference. So if they sell that $1 million property for $800,000, that $200,000 difference can offset their income taxes. That's potentially thousands in tax savings. So this is a great strategy that I approve of to save on taxes. If you have a piece of property that's too much cost to operate or too much of a hassle, or if you really want to do a very big mitzvah and give your money to a good place while saving on your taxes, this bargain sale might be the solution. If you're interested, please contact realestate@chailifeline.org. Again, that's realestate@chailifeline.org or call 646-981-6945.
So how did, so could you be specific, again, whatever you're comfortable with sharing, as far as where the family help stepped in? Was it for groceries? Was it for tuition? Was it for your house?
No, it's for nothing particular. For a house, we got some help to get into the house.
Okay.
In fact, our recent house, we were able to get. It's funny. We saw the opportunity. We moved down the block, and we had to close on the new house before we were able to find the buyer for the old house. So so we're hemorrhaging money. So we knew it would happen, Baruch Hashem. And what I was able to do with is both my father and father-in-law were able to help me get in to cover the new house to close on that. And I'm so grateful. And Baruch Hashem, we sold the house. We were able to repay that money, as soon as we were able to get in. And I think that's just an example. I think if you have, let me flip the question, because I have to think on the giving end about my kids, right? As Baruch Hashem, my oldest couple is, married with 2 kids in Lakewood, and they don't have a house yet, but that time is going to come eventually. And I have to think about this. Like, why wouldn't I want them to, why wouldn't they want to accept my help? And obviously, again, they don't want to lean on it long term, and you have to set up responsibility and infrastructure and all of that. But when the time comes for them to have to get through the door, we're gonna want to get them settled to whatever degree we can. And you know what? If I can't afford it, I'll say to them, I'm sorry. You guys are going to be on your own. Hashem will help you like He helped us. If I can, of course I want to help. But I wouldn't beshita say you shouldn't take help to teach you how to live on your own. If they're responsible, right, and they're mature, right, and they're doing what they can, then the rest is up to Hashem anyway. So let me help. Let me play a role.
That's amazing. So you pass on the way you received.
That's my. You hear it sometimes in shidduchim that people, if you hear occasionally people beshita won't want to help, I'd stay away from that shidduch. That's not a mindset I want my kid to get involved in anyway. Any parent that beshita doesn't want to help their kids, tell me I can't financially. I have limits. That's fine. Right. But
beshita, like you have to make it. But I think even from, like I said, also from an economic standpoint, the frum community has to exist with people giving and receiving, because there's just not enough to go around. And what I'm hearing from you, which is so amazing to hear and to have everyone else hear.
I hope so.
I hope so too.
Yeah.
You never know what people, but
Right.
I'm assuming, and I'm confident in believing that for people to hear that it's okay to be the breadwinner and to receive is a very, I think it's a therapeutic thing to.
I think so. I hope people realize that. And every situation is different. Every case is different. I mean, there's two ways, so to speak, to generate money, right? One is to cut down on your spending, which maybe, we'll talk about. And the other way is obviously to create more business and to create more revenue and create more income. So those are the two ways. We're either work with cut down what you're using now, right? Or bring from external sources. And wherever those external sources come from, you got to take advantage of them. I think it's that simple.
Yeah. Oh, that's very good. So was there a time in your journey that you were in debt and financially strapped or stressed?
I'm blessed to say that, stressed financially is always about the future, and there's times that there's bigger expenses I have to figure out how to afford.
Right. Right.
I'm blessed to say that, outside of the houses, I've been working for a long time, and we moved lockstep with what we could afford. And did we take a few risks? With the first house, yes. With the second house, maybe a little bit, yes. But we always, on a general level, budgeted what we needed, and we made our future financial moves around what we understood that we needed. And I'm privileged. All I could say is that I'm blessed. I can't speak for people that have gone through major financial hardship. Like, I really can't. I mean, we've built up, and I can talk about the needs of Klal Yisrael and the needs of a Jewish family and how we've grown to meet those needs. But it's been with calculation, with understanding, with lockstep, and with Siyata D'Shmaya handling the rest. That's what I could say.
So amazing. So let's talk. You made how many weddings so far?
Well, only one.
Oh, and was it a girl or a boy?
It was a girl, my daughter. Yes, yes, if that's your question. Yeah, that's for anybody wondering. Yes, it matters if you're the girl or the boy. Okay, anybody, whether you're flops or you're 50-50 or takana, yes, there's a big difference.
I'm just So can I ask, how much was spent, or is that?
I think so.
How much was on your end, and and how much? I guess I don't know.
See, once you analyze a band, I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to talk about how much I did, how much the other side did for
what was the cost?
I think you got to figure like this. And this was a wedding a few years ago in the palace. It wasn't a takana wedding. It wasn't a fancy wedding. It was a takana wedding in the palace. And it wasn't. I'm sorry. It was I guess a standard, so to speak, wedding in the palace. You're calculating low 30s for the hall. Now the band, I probably could have, the band I actually, went a little bit bigger on, because for me it's a business expense, So I got marketing out of the band, and
everyone hear that? Any tax accountants or people doing their taxes?
I did it with the permission of my accountant.
Look for deductions.
We'll find out after this interview, after this podcast, if he calls me screaming saying I shouldn't have said that. We'll find out if anybody catches it.
No names.
Exactly, no names. But you're going to budget, for an orchestra, you're going to budget, 10 grand, 11 grand before the singer. You're going to budget a photographer, which today is 12 grand, really? 10 to 12 grand. And then there's flowers also, which is 8 to 12 grand. But again, I want to be very clear also that the way to approach weddings today is there really are cheaper options. And a lot of the amounts that we spend on anything that's communal, right, really is based on norms that we are defining for ourselves. And I want to make a point if I can.
Yeah.
There's takana weddings available. You can make a vart in a house. You can make sheva brachas in a house. You really can. If you're not doing that, it's because either you're more affluent and you want to throw a bigger party, right? Or you're responding to social pressure and social needs. And that can get very unhealthy. If you can make a wedding, if you can get your daughter married, right, for let's say 50 grand soup to nuts, right? And you're spending 150 because you feel there's a social norm, you can't blame that on the weddings. You can't blame that on society. For someone to go in debt for a party, a temporary fleeting party, I know that people do it, and I understand the tainas.
Yeah.
But if you have an out, to be able to, so to speak, realign your values and sit your kids down and say, you want us to support you and you want us to make a wedding, right? There's $100,000 of this money that we're putting into this wedding. If you want to make the wedding in X, Y, and Z place, switch it to the takana places. And I know I'm putting myself in danger as a band right now as I'm saying this, but it's still true, you know? And you can't bring yourself to do that because of social pressure. There's introspection there.
Wow. So I want to
let the comments flow in.
I mean,
you know, it's a reality.
Listen, I never made a wedding, but
his money should be easy and quick. You should have everything you need to make it, and then some.
I mean, I have Leah and her have 4 girls, so
right.
Yeah. Time, by the way, is the biggest factor in financial planning. Would you agree?
That's extremely important. Yes.
It's not the best investment. It's not even the money that's being put away. It's the time. I say that a lot, you know. But that's very important to emphasize how someone has to stand up to the norms. I've been to takana weddings. I think they're beautiful. I'll be honest, me as a customer as a person attending, they're plenty nice. Granted, a band like Blue Melody will enhance your simcha beyond, and
it'll bring bracha to the family also, and you'll see there'll be Parnassah.
And it's a business expense.
Shameless plug. Yeah, I'm sorry.
And it's a business expense.
Yeah.
So I think that's very important to stand up to the norm. You know.
Right.
So I wanted to bring on another expense.
Yeah.
That to me, I'll tell you the truth. I'll also give a little anecdote, but my mother, may she live and be well, has been a teacher in a girls' high school for 40 years, something like that. And not, mommy, if you're making you older than what you are, please forgive me. But somewhere around 40 years. Okay. And I asked her this question about seminary. Right. Is seminary necessary or not? And this is what she said to me, and I want to bounce it off you, someone who's been through the sugya.
My second daughter's there right now.
Second daughter, and we spoke about this a little bit.
Yeah.
I asked her, is it necessary? And she said, it's not, but for the right person, it's life-changing and is worth the expense. This was the wisdom, Chachmas Isha, Bansa Besa, my mother, 40 years experience in a girls' high school. So I wanted to ask you, now that you've been through it, and you have the second daughter, you said, seminary. And first of all, what did it cost you?
Yeah.
And what do you think about it?
So let's answer the second question first, because it's probably easier. Because the easier question is, typically most of them are going to run, tuition's going to run probably in the upper 20s. Then you're talking about, upper 26, 27. And then you're talking about flights, at least one, right? A couple grand.
Right.
If she comes home for Yontif, which obviously is a choice. It's uncomfortable. It's hard to stay there for Pesach, but it is a choice. But if you're choosing to bring her home a second time, that's a second flight, another $2,000, right? And that's before she spent $1 there, right? Before you've shopped for a wardrobe, before she's got any money to spend. Now, it happens to be, I don't want my daughter to think that I don't appreciate what she's doing. We kind of made an arrangement that the expendable stuff, some of it comes from her money, some of it from us. And when it comes to the actual needs, transportation, things like that, that's coming from us. So she's, for the extras, she wants to go get an iced coffee the third time in the week, which she doesn't. She spends beautifully. I'm very proud of her. But if she wants an extra like that, in some cases, that'll be on her and some will provide. And that's another thing. You can make those arrangements with your kids also. It's important to be very open and honest about that. But you're looking at 35, 40 grand for a year in seminary. Now, I'm no position to comment on my own personal opinions about the importance of seminary. I mean, why aren't we having that conversation about yeshiva? It's Yiddishkeit, but by a boy, it's a mitzvah. By a girl, it's also a mitzvah to learn.
Interesting.
I'll tell you like this. I'll tell you that by my first daughter, I could clearly see an impact that it had shaping her direction. And she's now a nurse in Lakewood, and she's on track for
the NP?
NP. Yeah, she's on track to become an NP right now. And her drive to do that was to support her husband in learning as long as possible, to build a beautiful house of Ruchnis together. And that shaped a lot of it. I was super motivated by my time in Eretz Yisrael. And, my son, my son in Eretz Yisrael now, it's kind of a different thing because he's in Mir and he's growing, and my next son is in Darche and growing, Baruch Hashem. And when they go to Eretz Yisrael, it kind of amplifies a lot of what's set into motion here, I think it's a little bit different. By the girls, there's an independence that's there. There's beautiful learning. There's projects. There is that drive that's given. I can't comment if it's right for everybody or not, nor can I comment if it's going to be right for everybody to the extent that they're going to beg, borrow, and steal, so to speak, God forbid, to come up with that $35,000. That's a decision you're going to have to make. But I will tell you one thing. If you're not sure on it, if you're not clear on it, whether or not it's a value to you, then you're going to be hemming and hawing and complaining, as you're laying out for every dollar. If you're not 100% behind the need of what you're spending the money on, you're going to be miserable. I need to understand for myself that seminary is a value before I'm ready to commit financially to that thing. Right? If I didn't think it's important, then I'm doing it because of pressure. That's not great for anything. If I'm just doing it because of society norms, or I'm afraid it's going to affect shidduchim, again, it's society pressure giving into you, forcing you to give into things that you haven't really thought through. That's going to affect the way you approach it. You're going to be miserable about spending the money, and it's going to affect your daughter. Are you excited to send me there or not? You're being meiser nefesh.
She'll feel that.
She's going to feel that, and nobody's happy. And then, who knows? That might affect the year also.
Okay, so a lot, very good.
Hard sugya. Very hard sugya.
You might not be comfortable answering, or me asking, I don't know. Do you think the seminaries have the right to charge what they charge? Are they?
You know what? With my band, or with any sale, anybody has the right to charge whatever they think they need to charge. I don't think anybody and I'm a mechanech for 20 years, a lot of different yeshivas, no one's getting rich off of chinuch. It's like, this. No one's getting rich off of chinuch. I don't know. Anybody can ask anything that they think they need to charge. Whether or not I can pay it, or I can afford to pay it, or I think I need to pay it, is a completely different conversation. I think that people will have if they have a greater understanding of where they're really holding financially, and you take that together with the question of, well, how important is this for my daughter's future? I mean, you would do anything for your daughter's future, right? I mean, this is why we're here. We're here to raise them. And if this is the next step in raising my child, I'm going to allocate those funds. I'm going to figure out how to make that money happen. If you're not so sure, then maybe there's other ways to be machanech them, to other bees to raise them. I do think that if there was some sort of blanket way to get the funds down, more people will join, more people will be excited about it, and more people can grow from it. That would be a beautiful answer. But I think we've all been working on that. No one's found an answer for that yet.
Well, the question is, do you think seminary has become one of those social norms that creates financial pressure on people?
Yes, I do.
You see that?
Yes, I do. I absolutely do. And I think that there's pressure for the shidduchim. And again, if it's I will gladly endorse it if it's the best thing for my daughter. But in a theoretical, thank you. In a theoretical scenario where I don't understand it, I didn't understand it, and I'm just doing it because everybody else is doing it, and they're going to look at my daughter funny if I don't go. That's a disaster. Who's spending $40,000 just to keep up with the Joneses? That's but you have to understand that there has to be much more within that, and I see that there is.
I want to say, just in the middle of the podcast here, if anyone has really what fuels this podcast is your feedback. Whoever's out there and has thoughts. And, with Rabari over here saying a lot of ththings, I would love to hear comments and feedback. So don't just ignore it or be silent.
I'll do my best to respond also.
And Rabari will respond and we'll talk about it and continue the conversation. But don't forget to send feedback. Just wanted to cut that in. All right, so that's the seminary conversation. So you married off one child. You've been through the seminary. Parsha, I've been working with you for a couple years. It's been amazing for me. What do you think, what would you tell everyone about the value? What do you think is the value of having a financial planner? Because, you didn't always have one, And we met, 2-3 years ago?
2.5 years ago.
2.5 years ago. We've been through a couple of stock market recessions. We've been through a couple of hiccups.
Right.
So what would you say what is the value?
I'm gonna first just share one, please, from a personal testimony. The biggest mistake that we made was not jumping in soon enough. That's the first thing. To wait till our 40s to get involved on a serious level. I mean, thank God I had we had some 401ks and things like that. But to get involved in a serious level, to wait till now, I mean, you're not always zocha to now, but to really, we pushed it off. And I'm seeing already now from the pairs of our time together what would have been if I jumped in when I was 25. Because money loves time, right? There's that's
time.
Yeah,
time value.
That's the bottom line. So that's number one. To anybody listening, whatever you can do, any amount, please jump in as fast as you can. Get involved, build it financially. Now, for my personal value, I was never an expert in anything stock market or invested relating, nor do I have the time to really investigate and make a lot of my own decisions. I suppose at some point in the along the line, I could have done a little bit of work and put some stuff on my own into a Vanguard or whatever. I could have done that stuff, but on my own, right? To make these decisions on my own, to spend the time on my own, I wouldn't have made the right decisions. Right? I wouldn't have had that clarity and the understanding of the peace of mind that there's somebody else looking out for my financial future and my financial security, as we discussed, was to me, that's the greatest asset. That every couple of months, let's say you'll give me a call or shoot me a WhatsApp saying, Ari, bonds are the thing now, so we're going to shift some of what you got now into bonds. Is that okay? That's to me, that's gold. So I know that I don't have to worry about that because someone is worrying about those things for me. That's a huge value. Also to point out things that I had never moved on, like we needed to renew life insurance. And I needed some hand-holding with that because there were some big decisions to be made. Life, 20, term 80, things like that. And the guidance from you, I was super, super grateful for. So that's my understanding. I think also there's a peace of mind aspect, that knowing that you're working towards, a nut in the future that you can reach into as you need to make these family simchas. It really does remove the stress level, the anxiety level of what's going to be in the future. And as Yidden, we're taught to have bitachon. Every day is a gift from Hashem, and every day is only with Hashem's bracha, 100%. But we're in this world this is a money podcast. I mean, there's a reason for that. Where Hashem wants us to work, and He wants us to cheshbon, and He wants to think ahead, and that's where the financial planning comes in.
I appreciate that because your perspective, I share the same perspective. Listen, Baruch Shalom runs the world, but you have to have your feet on the ground and plan. So what was the hardest part, though? Like, was it just, I'm not going to say it a better way, laziness that you didn't meet with a plan?
There was definitely some laziness. That's a good part of it. I think it took some pushing, so to speak, over the cliff to commit to, first of all, we all have this problem that we open up our immediate checking and savings account, right? And if there's and we all have this like dollar amount, like this fantasy dollar amount, like, if that amount is in the account, then I'll be happy. Right? We all do this, right?
Yes.
And to get off that cliff and say, well, that amount's not going to be there anymore. Okay, but it's not there because you're investing in solid markets, right? Or you're investing in whatever it is. And not only that, like you tell me, anytime you need the money, you can get that money back out of the account a day later. It's just not there. It's liquid. It's not as liquid in the same way that I thought. And you're also used to seeing lower dollar amounts on your active checking accounts because we're doing monthly withdrawals, and that takes a little bit. People, again, there's a level of security that people.
It's like a fear.
Yeah,
people have this fear. So it took a while. I'm not calling you lazy, God forbid.
Yeah.
We're all lazy, but there's a fear of having investments, not seeing it in your bank account. I think a lot of people have a fear of opening up. Because money is, I think, second to health on someone's mind.
Wow.
Is money. Yeah, I think from what I see, people are their money is on the top of their...
I think it's first because they're taking the health for granted.
Yeah. Theoretically.
The health they assume they have, the money, they're all worried about where it's going to come tomorrow.
That's maybe you're right.
I think one point should not be understated is that living as a, so to speak, middle class, Torah Jew, right, is me'al derech hateva. You're living a miraculous life. We don't feel that way from a day-to-day basis because we're engulfed, in this world of meeting the deadlines and paying the bills and keeping up with the Joneses and perhaps the social pressure. And some of that is completely maybe unjustified, but a lot of it is normal. Meaning, if you're a Jew today, so to speak, in our middle class bracket that you're talking about, you're living an exemplary lifestyle. You're living an amazing, amazing life already, and you shouldn't approach it like, oh, something is wrong with me. I can't. Like it's an amazing schus to live this kind of life. So you're normal. There's nothing wrong with you. Thank God. If this is our generation's problem, great. What a beautiful problem to have.
So let me ask you, Ari, do you eat out? Do you buy pizza?
So that it's so funny. I'm glad you asked about that.
Do you get coffee?
Right. Do we budget? Right. Do we budget for, I'm not the best guy at budgeting the small little things, but the pizza is actually a very good example because my wife and I did have this conversation. I mean, we've talked about this in the past. Your personal focus of financial planning is less on the lifestyle and more on the building for the future. Right. And
that's right.
And that's great. Certainly for someone like me, that's probably not so good at all the self-control all the time. But when I talk to my wife about these things, we do find some little things to cut. And it's funny, you mentioned pizza. Like, there's less of us in the house now because 4 of my 7 kids are, dorming or living out of the house. And we actually, as an experiment, we made a switch from, ordering in pizza every Thursday night, right, to my wife taking a Mazur's pizza dough and making a pizza in a Betty Crocker. Oh. So instead of $45 a week, we're spending now like $7, a week. So there's almost $40 savings weekly, which is $160 over a month. That's $1,200 over a year. That's a real savings. I don't write down every cup of coffee. Happens to be I use Nespresso, so every cup of coffee comes out, let's say, less than $1 a cup, which is a heck of a lot cheaper than Starbucks.
Yeah.
Right?
Quarter of the price.
Eating out is insanely expensive.
So you do eat out? Or you don't?
We eat out as a celebration. We eat out when my wife and I really need to eat out. But we also recognize that's kind of like our slush fund because we know that like that same meal can be at home for pennies on the dollar, It's you want to call it taiva? I think it's personal needs. That's lifestyle. But I think there's a lot of little places that we can really just focus on hitting 1 or 2 of those things, and all of a sudden, someone's generated a couple grand a year with minimal effect on their lifestyle. I think everybody can find.
This doesn't
things.
Stress you out, like this kind of making homemade pizza, which tastes very good.
Yeah, because it's only that one thing. Meaning, we by Shabbos, anyone's been like we're balling out on Shabbos.
You're eating Shabbos.
Yeah, to have it right. The chutz mi Shabbos v'yantif, right? So we're doing all those things, Baruch Hashem, Ashreinu, And I feel bad if someone can't do that. That's already a Rav Shaila. Do I minimize there? Do I not minimize there? But there's certainly enough of that you can still find significant savings if you search for them.
I would just emphasize what Ari said in the middle of those what you're saying, that my approach to budgeting, and I think I heard positive feedback on it, is that I don't really sit down with people and say what they should or shouldn't spend money on, because in my opinion, money is sort of meant to be spent. Now, if a person has their own, hashkafas and things like that, I don't get involved in that. What I do get involved in is that if you want to spend money, you have to first check your boxes and make sure you're financially secure for your children, retirement, insurance. Sure. That's my approach. I think it sits well with a lot of people because I don't think it's comfortable for me or for them when we sit down and go through, digesting or dissecting their.
I hear that.
Has that been your experience?
Absolutely. Maybe other people are capable of it. I can't imagine a life in which I have to really, worry that every dollar I'm spending is too much. And I'm not talking about chas v'shalom. If people have struggles, I'm not saying they're wrong in their struggles, but to choose that mentality, you're choosing a life of worry and fear and whatever it is. The goal is to get yourself into a life that you feel comfortable and happy and enjoyable at the same time that fits with your budget, that fits with your life. I think that's really the goal.
Yes. with two spouses working, first of all, most spouses are working. They're working mothers. That's already a full-time job.
Right.
So that's something. But, I find it very hard in the middle class. It's difficult when both spouses aren't working. But I did say this before, and I'll say it, that to get some kind of side hustle that generates $500 a month, $6,000 a year, or $1,000 a month is very easy. And sometimes that extra few $100s, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, that extra few $100 or $1,000 a month can take you from the point of being, surviving to the point of actually being able to go on offense and put away money. So I think that it's very difficult when only one spouse works. But the flip side is you don't have to get a job in a top 4 accounting firm and never come home. You can get a side hustle. So what are your thoughts?
There's a balance here between, this is a work-life, balance, certainly for Jewish family balance, for a Jewish mother, the Akeres Habayis.
Does your wife work?
My wife has been working for I think 23, she's been teaching before we got married, but I think she's been working for 23 years at Magen David. And yeah, she has a great position there, Baruch Hashem. A teacher, but she works because she personally always felt she's not a homebody. She's a teacher. She guides. She has tons of Talmidim that seek her guidance and beautiful things. She does something very special there. Maybe part of that ego thing we talked about before, I was always very clear to her that, like, if you want to go home and you want to stop working, go for it. Like, it's on me to provide.
Really?
I don't know if that was right or wrong. That's what I felt. And I always told her that. And she keeps working and she stays where she is. And I think that she wanted to do that anyway. So I guess we were more fortunate. When you have a situation that the wife doesn't work or can't work, sometimes you have a situation there's no one to watch the kids. There's babies at home and there's no one to babysit. Obviously you have to financially plan for that, and the balance between the mother being a breadwinner and the mother being the mother of your children is a super difficult balance to dictate. And I'm not super brilliant, but I'm smart enough not to sit on this podcast and tell any mother that's listening what their financial and parenting roles are. I'm going to sit that one out and let them, make your own conclusion. But but the side hustle thing is very interesting. I feel like this is a recent development. There's more ways than ever before to come up with money. Everybody's got ways they can stream, they can tutor, they can share. You can sell some stuff online. You can sell Daled Minim. Everybody's got extra ways they could hustle, and everybody's advertising them. You turn on your phone and there's a million ways. People are selling everything. I make cupcakes in my house. I make sourdough in my house. And they wouldn't be doing it if people weren't buying. We're a what's it called society. We're a consumerism society, which has a lot of problems attached to it. But for you to figure out how to make some extra money, there's a lot of new opportunities out there. Take them, and like you're saying, Moshe, put that money aside, invest that money, and let it grow. Don't look at it, don't think about it, and then 15, 20 years from now, you've got something you can draw from to make simchas from or to retire with.
Now, so do you think that number that I was saying for you personally, the amount of money you're saving and putting in your retirement for your children and long term and the insurance, is that a hefty sum for you, or is that taking money that's, not gas change, but something that's, something that's not crazy, decent, but not crazy, and is making the most of it? Do you feel like you're making the most of your money when you create this plan?
Oh, absolutely. That's the easy. Yeah, that's probably the easiest.
And is it a crazy amount of money? Do you feel like it's a crazy amount of money that you need to be secure financially? When you put away things long term or for insurance?
No, I don't think so. It's just given over time. I don't view any amount as exorbitant or minuscule based on the amount itself. It's the way I look at it is can I afford it? If it's if I'm still paying the bills, putting this money away, then great. It's probably one of the best things I could do with the money.
Right? And you would say for the average middle class person, it's doable. It's doable to do something.
It's more than doable because I think, forgive me for interrupting you. It's doable because I don't even think it's about the dollar amount. It's about the monthly dedication and letting it grow over time. That's going to make the bigger difference than the actual amount. I think you've told me many times, if you can't swing X, cut it down.
Right.
Be in touch with me, cut it down, but keep it consistent.
Make it automatic.
Right.
Automatic deposits are the eighth wonder of the world. And compound interest. You have automatic deposits, it happens. I always say the example of someone who's, became an employee and signed up for the 401k.
Yeah.
They have a retirement because they clicked the mouse, the other person didn't. That's all.
It's amazing.
That's, how money.
It's that simple. It's all comes down to.
Money works. We're going to wrap up. It was an amazing conversation.
Oh, it was
Ari,
my schus.
yes, it was my schus and privilege and pleasure to have you as our first guest. You did a major mitzvah, a lot of mitzvahs. I love how you balance ruchnius and gashmius.
Thank you.
It's important to stress that, in financial planning, you could lose sight of, unfortunately, the one who controls everything.
Bigger picture.
The bigger picture, that is the bigger picture. But I was appreciative, really, of your transparency and, working with you. Any other final thoughts on your end?
It was absolutely my honor. Thank you. And I joined with the hope of really being able to not only share my experience and situation with as many people as possible, but to give them the understanding that they're not the only ones, number one. And number two, the awareness that we're really living this unbelievably miraculous lifestyle, and not to lose sight of that. Mm-hmm. And third, to anybody that's, so to speak, earlier in the journey than I am, to show you can do this, you can get through it. There's beautiful ways to get through it. Siyata d'shmaya, financial planning, thinking logically, thinking reasonably, and we should both know success, and everybody listening should know just tremendous spiritual success and all the financial success, all the gashmistic success they need to back it up.
Amen. And don't forget the comments and the feedback. Send them over. I'd love to hear from you.